Rise of Skywalker. Let's talk about it.
No.
All right, guys, welcome back, everyone. So, Rise of Skywalker came out, and there's a lot of mixed opinions on it. We're just gonna dive into it. So, I'm gonna probably start this way. Kyle, just first impressions.
No. It was a waste of my money. I really want my 2 hours and $12 back, please.
Steve.
Probably more mixed opinions than my buddy over here. There's some highs, some lows, definitely a few more lows than highs. We'll dive into those things, but I'm pretty sure, like most of you watching, it's a pretty mixed bag. So,
yeah. Same here. I left really disliking it. Like, man, I thought it was the worst Star Wars movie ever. Second time watching it, I could see the lows and highs. We'll get into that. Bryan.
I wanted to walk out an hour in. That's it. Like, flat out, just did not like it.
Okay. All right. So I think what we're going to do is start from the beginning. Not go over the entire... Oh, by the way, spoilers. Definitely. There's a spoiler alert.
Spoilers.
Big spoiler alert. Yeah. I think we're going to probably start from the beginning, work our way up to the end. Not go over the entire movie, but major points. Maybe things we did like, didn't like. All right. So we'll start from the beginning. First thing that I guess really chapped your hive, Kyle.
Oh, boy. I would say Chewie when they killed him. Supposedly.
Quote unquote
killed him. But then 5 minutes later, oh, look, he's alive. I'm like, oh, God, they're doing this. I knew it.
all right, well, that's definitely one. I would say in terms of the beginning, for me, it was just about pacing. I felt like I was getting bombarded with all this information. They're trying to play catch up. I don't know what to make of the last two films as it relates to this movie, and I felt like the plot was moving so fast, and it almost gave me a headache in certain parts. That's what I think.
I will say the first line in the crawl title, the dead speak, that already threw me off. And then it's like Palpatine broadcast, like, you have to be the dumbest idiot to
Why would you do that?
Yes. Yeah. Why would you not? Not only that, why would you not bring up your fleet of army and be like, hey, surprise, start blasting everyone?
Good point.
I don't know. I feel like Palpatine's been built up to this, this Sith Lord with this master plan, and is like, this was your master plan. This was the final order master plan. I don't know. Bryan?
Both of you have perfectly explained why I wanted to walk out. So the first line, like the dead speak and Palpatine broadcast. Palpatine did nothing of the sort in the prequels. Like, building up his character to become Palpatine, he was basically in hiding, working in the shadows. Yet all of a sudden, 36 years after his supposed death, he's like, hey, what's up, fuckers? I'm alive.
I'm back.
I'm back. Oh, and I got this whole army, and we're here to wreck shit. Yeah, what's up? And then it jumps from like, hey, we're here. Hey, Kylo found this thing. Hey, Kylo's going here. Hey, Kylo's on this world. Hey, look, it's Palpatine. Hey, he wants to kill Rey. Like, and then, hey, jump to Finn. Hey, jump to Rey. Hey, jump to the Rebels. I'm like,
it was all over the place.
Hey, I have a friend I know. Let's go over here now.
Yeah. And I guess here we can start jumbling around. So, now what was I gonna get to? The whole. I don't get the whole, like, they needed an artifact to find him. It was just it really was.
It felt like a quest game. I feel like this movie was set up like a video game.
More like D&D.
Almost like the new game that came out recently, Fallen Order, which is an excellent video game. It's a quest game. And I just feel like watching The Rise of Skywalker was sort of that quest type esque, atmosphere, mission, purpose. It was just like a quest fight. It was like a huge, what do they call that? A
RPG?
A hunt. What's it called? Not an Easter egg hunt. You know what I mean to say.
Scavenger hunt?
A scavenger hunt.
Oh, okay.
It was basically a big scavenger hunt. We have to go find this.
Scavenger.
We have to go find this Sith navigator, which to me on screen looked like a holocron, but they didn't want to call it that in the movie.
Yeah,
and
I thought about that too.
Find this dagger, and then we got it puts it up to this piece of 40-year-old wreckage, and somehow magically lines up. I was lost. That part lost me.
The dagger itself lost me because it's like, oh, hey, there's writing on the dagger. It's like, oh my god, this is what we need. It's like, why would you write your coordinates on a dagger that could potentially fall into enemy hands? It's like, don't worry.
It boils down to bad storytelling.
Well, I don't know. Then it's like, no, well, it's Seth's writing. No one can read it. Oh, hey, look, I can read that.
Can you tell us?
I just feel like it was such a made up, like, hurdle of C3 like, oh, I can
Yeah.
read it, but I can't tell you. Like,
Yeah.
why not?
It's like they created these false stakes throughout the whole movie. You know, oh, Kylo's dead. Oh, no, he's not. Oh, Rey's dead. Oh, no, she's not. Oh, C-3PO lost his memory. Oh,
no,
maybe
he
he
got it
did
back.
No,
So
but
they just went back and forth constantly throughout the movie, and it just got exhaustive toward the end, and you just got annoyed by some of this stuff at the end of it. That was
No,
my
see-
takeaway.
My thing with annoyance is that C-3PO somehow knew how to read this language. Anakin built 3PO. How the hell did Anakin have access to that
I
language?
mean, I guess you can argue that. I mean, this is like, man, from the time span from. I know the time span from the originals, like Return of the Jedi to Force Awakens. I believe like 30 years,
More or less 30 years.
more or less, and then not adding, however many years the prequels to the originals. So he could have gone through some updates. I guess I won't
Yeah.
I won't hate on it too much for that.
Yeah, that's an easy plot hole to
But-
fill.
I think that is an easier. Yeah, like I said, I think it is an easier plot hole to fill. But I will say, like, as far as going back to the dagger, I kind of got like, I'm thinking like, is it Temple of Doom, Indiana Jones, where he stands
Yeah.
the relic? Like, I guess that I can buy. This is like a big sanctuary, but you make a dagger for an event that happened 30 years prior. Above all things, a wreckage that just obviously didn't place
Yeah.
itself a certain way, and
Yeah.
you made the coordinates there to fit to point exactly where this, I guess, holocron
Yeah,
was.
it's so forced.
No.
It's so like
No.
shoddy.
Okay, no, and then they have the dagger, and not only just line up, it has a little like measuring tape.
Oh my
inside of it.
god! It's like
Yeah.
wait.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
found it. It's
Uh,
there.
There
Yeah.
was a lot of reaching here, a lot of stuff that I think we as the audience were supposed to kind of just accept and say like, okay, they're doing this, but I feel like after the first two films of this third saga, in the continuation of the Skywalker series, I just feel like it was just trying to patch up too many holes in an already sinking ship. The fan base wanted too many different things.
Mhm.
There was no order or consensus coming out of Disney's Lucasfilm. Kathleen Kennedy, I think, did a great disservice to the fans by not giving a true and proper direction for all three of the films at the outset.
And that's
I
what
think that's why we are
that's
where
what
we
it,
are
that's what it
today.
comes. That's what it kind of comes down to. There was no
Yep.
general direction of where
Yeah.
to go.
It's just all over the place.
I mean, even I remember after The Force Awakens came out, it was I had heard an article that JJ left the Rey's lineage to the next director, which this had originally it was going to be all three different directors. So I'm sorry when JJ says, "Oh, this was the plan all along," I call BS. I'm like, no, it
Yeah.
wasn't. Come on, like
Yeah.
you kidding yourself, dude.
It's trying to save face and make it
Yeah.
look like they know what they're doing.
And I
to
think he also-
inspire some confidence
Yeah.
by the fans.
Yeah, and I think he also said like, "Oh, I can't please the fans." Like, I understand you can't please the fans, but you can make a good movie, and this just
Yeah.
wasn't a good movie.
Definitely.
So I would have more. I would appreciate the movie more if it was it aimed at that. Maybe it didn't please everyone, but it was a good movie. I can respect that. I couldn't.
I think with him trying to please the fans, I think
it hurt it. It did hurt it.
yeah, I really think he tried to do that here. There was so much nostalgia towards the end of it,
It's
which
too
he
much
did.
fan service.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really felt like he went too hard trying to please everyone. I don't put that past him. Again, it's just the fact that there was no clear, concise story that ultimately made this movie, or ultimately just made this saga, in my eyes, a failure. I think JJ and everyone in it tried to the best of their abilities, but I feel like this movie was just terribly written, poorly executed.
There's no concise.
No, and
plot line.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then they're
throughout.
like, they tried to fill too many plot holes, but it's kind of like that. Oh well, just don't think about it.
In turn, it creates more plot holes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
So I don't put it past the JJ for trying to make this movie. I just put it on Disney for like, why would you not have the same director?
Well, my thing too. It's like Disney's no strangers to huge franchises. You had the Marvel
Yeah,
franchise,
which
and
did very well.
and
Yeah.
made this.
Oh, yeah.
Not only that, a span of 22 movies. I mean, minor things here and there didn't add up, but I mean, it was okay. It wasn't that big a deal to where I can put it past it.
Yeah.
But this was 3 movies, and it's Star Wars. Like, how did you not have a direction to go here? Not only that, I had heard too that I don't think Kathleen Kennedy and JJ had like read or really knew the lore of
I
Star
don't think
Wars.
they were true fans.
They
and that's
they
what people
had
claim.
material, but they decided like, oh, that's not canon. We're gonna make everything from the ground up again.
And there's a proper way to do
Yeah.
fan service. Like,
Yeah.
you know, okay, well,
And there was a few. I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, and I would argue there was a few well done moments of fan service in the Rise of Skywalker. They were short, they were subtle. You know, like some of the moments with the Falcon, a handful of like the Lando Calrissian moments, some Chewbacca moments.
See, I
And
just
they
saw, I
did
saw
do it
Lando coming.
tactfully in some of those instances, but a lot of it was kind of just in your face, over the top, trying to do a little bit too much.
And I will say, I guess to add like some service to it, I did my second viewing. I did watch it as its own thing. I thought, okay, you know what? Let me see. What if I came into this? What if this was the first Star Wars movie? What, there was nothing like it. I went in watching this movie, and I was able to find enjoyment in it. As far as there's flashy lights, there's explosions, there's action. But when it comes down to it, too, it's still the story is really is still all over the place. I would probably, and I know I would. I'm sure I would enjoy it as much as I would a Godzilla movie, in the sense that there's no. I'm not here for the story. I'm here to turn my mind off and watch things explode. But the story, it still hurt. I would at that point I would still give it like a solid 5 if that were the case. But you bring it not only part of the saga, but the end, the closing of the saga. Then you start deducting more points, or like, and it goes to a low for me.
What do you guys think about the Leia scenes?
I'm sorry, this also pisses me off about JJ, because they're like, we're not going to use CG for Leia. There were parts that were actually a bit CG.
You could
So I'm
tell.
like, dude, are you kidding me? You're going to tell me you're not going to just CG Leia and then do it? Like, just do it to tell a good story. So that also, you know.
What about you, Bryan? What do you think?
I just didn't like it. It's like, oh, now all along she knew. Leia knew from the beginning, and it was like, did she really?
Oh, the whole Palpatine, you know,
Yeah.
I thought,
And then-
I thought it was
I'll
cheap.
buy that.
I thought it was cheap.
No, and then Leia had a lightsaber. I was like, okay,
Yeah,
fine.
just all this information that got revealed at the very end that just is so out of left field.
And then she beats Luke, who had been trained by Obi-Wan, who was a Jedi Master,
And Yoda.
and she beats him. So
Yeah.
she was stronger in the Force, but she didn't want to be a Jedi.
Yeah, speaking of, yeah.
I get it. Like, she's a general, and she's always been a general. I just feel that her using the Force in Last Jedi, it was a fucking stretch when she floats to safety. That kind of pissed me off.
I got a lot of criticism.
I was like,
Yeah,
whatever,
fans.
right? But now you're telling me that she was a Jedi and was strong with the Force. So why couldn't, she have helped Luke teach? Or what,
Expand the Jedi Order. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, in The Last Jedi, there's no Harken of Leia's involvement whatsoever, is there?
Yeah.
So
She was always a leader. Like she was General, Organa.
Yeah. But then that begs the question. While Luke was training the Jedi, what was Leia doing if this was a time of peace? If
They
she
never
was,
specified.
Yeah, if she's a general,
gaping plot
I mean,
hole.
if she was that strong with Force, that she could beat Luke, why didn't she train Kylo or Ben herself?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the Leia situation?
Honestly, kind of like what Bryan says. Like, what was she doing? Like, even if she didn't take the saber, like, what was she doing prior to becoming the general of the Resistance in the first place? Like, what was going on Coruscant or any other New Republic capital? Like, what was going on? Why did she become the leader of the Resistance? Like, what caused her to become or form this faction in the first place? Like, what was?
Because she was already a prominent member of the Resistance,
Yeah.
even in her younger years at the time of the original trilogy.
Yeah.
And then so
well,
she
she was a
picks up a
princess.
lightsaber,
Mhm.
and then apparently that goes nowhere. She decides not to pursue that journey.
Even
and
though
then she
she's
goes
like
back
very
to being
prominent in it.
a rebel leader,
Well,
even though she's
I guess
better than
I mean
Luke,
I guess she's
one would
technically
argue,
still a princess.
based on the information we have. I will say this about the Leia situation. I think they worked. I mean, obviously everybody knows that Carrie Fisher has passed on,
Yeah.
and they only had a certain amount of footage to work with as far as it relates to her. And I wouldn't have wanted the job of the producers and the filmmakers to somehow craft a way to weave her into the story, and that the fans could be happy with and still, not criticize the filmmakers for doing. And I think in that regard, they did a decent job working with the film that they already had taken and somehow, crafting her into the movie in a way that was tasteful and not overdone. And I will give them credit for that. They could have done a lot worse. That was not that was not a small task to accomplish in the context that they were working in. And so I'll give them, some due diligence there, in that regard.
I will, but at the same time, why not just start the movie with Leia's funeral? I feel like you could have played with that, and it would have more, because it's unfortunate. I feel like Leia passing should have hit me more, and unfortunately, just the way it played, it didn't.
Yeah,
it really
true.
didn't. See, and
Kinda
I mean,
just fell flat.
Yeah, and I might be, unpopular opinion. I was okay with the way Luke went out in The Last Jedi. Reason being because yes, I'm not gonna lie. The movie could have played out. There's things that do need polishing in that movie, but this guy, he came back and essentially saved the Resistance. He fought the Resistance. I thought it was the most Jedi thing to do. He didn't even touch Kylo. That is the way that Jedi, would fight. It's like he untouched him, does the whole like strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you'll ever be.
Sort of enigmatic figure.
I thought it was cool, and then like he's like, in that last night he gives him, he's like, the rebels were born. It's like, I will not be the last Jedi. I'm like, I was cool with that. I'm like, you know what? And then to me, it was like when him passing. The way I took it was the same way I took Obi-Wan and Yoda. They had this guilt that they carried with them. Obi-Wan, I feel like, he failed his friend. I think that guilt, just weighted him down. And then jumped to, A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
He sees Luke escaping with Leia. I feel like that was like him letting go. It's like he did right by his friend in a way. Like he helped his son escape. This is the next best step to take down the Empire. So he lets, Vader take him out, becomes a Force Ghost. Yoda too. Yoda failed to beat Palpatine. He trained Luke. I think I took that like, this was him like, he was able to finally let go.
Yeah.
Goes Force Ghost. That's what I took as Luke. He saved the Resistance. So I was fine with him passing away, like, the way he went out.
And I see your point, but to the fans' credit and a lot of people's credit who very much dislike The Last Jedi is what the hell did he actually do to teach Rey anything? The movie was empty as far as substance goes, as far as a character's personal development for Rey, as we've seen in other films past, as we've seen for Luke, as we've seen for Anakin, and a number of, even Obi-Wan had his own long arc in the movies, and we see some character development there. And I just felt like in The Last Jedi, Rey, first of all, did not get taught much on screen. There was not a lot of screen. Not a lot of screen time. There was no look into her training or her deeper journey as a Jedi, and I think that just didn't sit well with fans because she just came across as very OP. And then while the argument could be made that she's a Palpatine, and so that sort of lends itself to her extreme level of power without much training. For that,
but keep going.
Well, I mean that's the argument one could make in Rey's favor as far as the lack of storytelling there. It's like, well, it should save face that we've revealed she's a Palpatine, so that should essentially retcon all the negative feelings people had toward her character being so powerful at the onset of meeting her. And so, but you do have a rebuttal. We talked about this.
Yes. So, I will say yes. Force Awakens, they kind of like played that she knew the Force really well. She was pretty good at it, from the get-go. I do feel like Last Jedi, it didn't do it too much in a sense. I mean, for the most part, we just see her lift those rocks at the end. She can't hold her own against Snoke. So I did feel like it did play a bit better. But jump to this movie, she's like OP. I would have hoped they would have been consistent in that regard and she's not as that powerful. But the whole argument now the movie is the movie now. We have this new movie. So now, of course, the argument is, oh, well, she's a Palpatine. Of course she was strong. I will rebuttal that because, yes, Palpatine was strong, very strong, probably one of the most strongest Sith Lords. Vader was stronger. And you go back to episode 3, there's the part where Palpatine and Yoda are going to fight. And what does he tell Yoda? He's like, Lord Vader will be stronger than either of us. So he was going to be stronger than him. The only reason he's not is because, well, one, he got hurt. And going to, Star Wars lore, Vader's suit actually suppresses his power. So, and there was actually a suit built for him he can access all his power. But no, that suppresses him. So, by that logic, shouldn't Luke have been stronger than Rey and picked up everything real quickly? He didn't, though. This was a hero's journey.
Another plot hole.
Yeah, another plot hole. And by that logic, even more, shouldn't have Ben Solo, aka Kylo Ren, been stronger than Rey? because he was a Skywalker by blood.
Mm-hmm.
So again, another big plot hole. So yeah,
Now, in it's nice to dissect all of how this movie plays into the greater saga,
Mhm.
but this is a Rise of Skywalker review.
Mhm.
So I want to ask the question: what do you guys think about the use of lightsabers in this movie as opposed to the last two films that we saw in this saga?
Better.
you think better?
Better?
Okay, so it had a lot more effects.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked that. I will say the ending. When they were in the cave and all that, and I was like, you know what, this was ridiculous, but I'll buy it. When Kylo's getting beat and he reaches back, and then all of a sudden I'm like, you know what,
The Force bond.
whatever.
Yeah,
I'll
respond. We've
I'll-
never seen that before in a
Yeah.
movie either.
Mhm.
I don't
no.
think.
So
Well, I mean, last year I kind of touched up on it. They could like link to one
Yeah.
another.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was setting it up.
But-
Yeah.
So I get it, and again, that part I was like, all right, you know what, this is stupid, but I'll bite on this. The rest of the movie I could not bite on. But going back to just that scene, the scene was cool. I like the use of the lightsabers there. I did like as well that when Rey did her training, or she went to go do the run, or
Yeah.
the
Oh,
training run.
the
Training
Yeah,
boomerang?
course, yeah.
Yeah, that she was, throw the lightsaber and like do it. I'm like, why didn't they use that? They could have
Yeah.
done that in battle. Like that would have been cool as shit.
A lot of little things that stuff like that. I feel is like that was good fan service.
Mhm.
We're seeing more of like the training, the use, like
Mhm.
the battle type stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
The action sequences, the battle sequences, I thought were pretty good.
Yeah.
And we saw more of it than we did in the last two movies.
yeah.
For
I
sure.
did like the dogfight at the end too,
Yeah.
like all the ships.
I think again it was pretty, definitely, the
Mhm.
lightsaber fights, but I just feel there was no, I guess, substance, if I'm using that word properly,
Yeah.
behind the fight. So and we're talking just this trilogy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Force Awakens, I like that fight with Kylo Ren and Rey. I just felt it felt like dirty and raw. It was just
Yeah.
like they were whacking at each
And
other.
the whole movie built up to it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
'cause-
like that.
Neither of them have been trained properly.
Yeah.
Like they were just trying to use their strength to hurt
The
each
stakes
other.
were high.
Yeah.
Han had
Yeah.
just died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the stakes were really high. You
And
were very
yeah,
emotionally
Yeah,
invested.
I was invested in that one. Last Jedi, I like the throne room scene. I know a lot of people weren't. Also, another thing people didn't like was Snoke dying or the way he died. I thought it was cool. I'm not that it's a bad thing, but I'm not too big a fan of when a character beats another, or the hero beats the villain by becoming more powerful. Kylo Ren had to outsmart Snoke, and that was the only way he could beat him.
And
So
kind of cheat a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that I'm okay with. And then again, the reason behind, and then afterwards, it's like, oh my God, they're gonna team up. This is cool. I thought it was really cool, and they go back to back. And then
Yeah.
and not only that, but that scene, this was the only time where they're not stormtroopers. They're like
They're like
they're like
Imperial
Crimson
Guard,
Guards,
yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
This is the only time besides Death Troopers that these guys felt like a threat. Let's be honest, stormtroopers have never felt like a threat.
Never.
Even the new Sith troopers, they were like the same thing as the
Yeah.
stormtroopers. That scene, and again, the Death Troopers, but we're going back to another movie. That was the only time I felt like, the henchmen, if you will, actually felt like a threat. Like, I'm like, oh my God, these guys, their weapons can actually block lightsabers.
Yeah.
And they were actually, they were sweating this fight. So I do think those two outrank any of the fights in this movie as far as lightsabers.
What do you think?
I would say like I prefer the Force Awakens fight between Kylo and Rey as opposed to the one in Rise of Skywalker, because I don't know, like, granted, yeah, choreography felt a bit too slow, and I know they meant to be like more I guess impactful hits, but at the same time it's like it felt really dull when they were fighting in the Death Star room in the ruins. It's just they're just jumping, click, lightsaber, click, fall back, click again, and it's like, I don't know, it just felt very off.
Kind of
But-
contrived.
Contrived, yeah.
Yeah. I guess we can jump to overall the ending. Now, Palpatine. This.
Well, there's a few other characters who I want to ask you guys about too.
Go on that too.
Like,
Let's save the ending for
Yeah.
the end. Okay, go on.
so I wanted just to see, like, Finn, guys. Finn's character. I felt like they really did him a disservice.
They
in this
did.
movie.
I thought, the way the Force
Not just
Awakens
this
built
movie.
up.
Yes, the way the Force Awakens built him up, the merchandising, the trailers, all the reveals of the movie, the build up. and then we end up with the Rise of Skywalker. And I just sort of felt like he was chasing Rey around everywhere and not doing much to help. It was just like, what is his role? What is his greater purpose in this movie?
This film in general, like Rise of Skywalker, was like, we gotta go after Rey. Like, why? Why do you want to go after Rey? Because I just want to go after Rey.
Yeah, that's really what it felt like.
It is, and I mean the way when the trailer for Force Awakens came out, I was like, this is cool. A rogue stormtrooper, an underdog.
Yeah.
We've never seen this before. And then Rey, I'm like, oh my god, like a scavenger, a nobody. This plays into the idea that you don't have to be from this, the Skywalker blood, which it felt like, everyone was related to each other, and that's why they're, the Force. Everyone who knew each other had the Force. I'm like, this is cool. Like, these are people who come from nothing, who can potentially have the Force. Like, I like this. I like the idea that the Force is not just limited to, a certain bloodline.
The midichlorians.
But they just they didn't play on to that.
Well, and to speak to that, I think in Rise of Skywalker, there's a scene where they're sinking in the sand.
I know. So there's a reveal of what he was going to say.
And Finn says, "Wait, Rey, I have to tell you something."
There's something I've always wanted to say.
And then in a classic J.J. Abrams cliffhanger moment, they sink, and I don't think we ever find out
so
on screen what
Jen
he actually meant to say.
Jen actually sent me a link to what he was going to say. He was going to say he was Force sensitive, which
I
makes
would
no sense.
Well, didn't you pick that up later on in the film? Because there was all these little quips and tropes of where he's like, I just feel it. I just know.
Yeah.
You can kind of just tell, like,
But,
all right, I see what they're hinting at here.
I get it. It just came out of nowhere, though.
It did.
It really came out of nowhere. And here's the thing, too. I just didn't like how they played onto it. Because, like, I was going to say, like, maybe he had a thing for Rey. But everything else was like, he's like, because Rey asked him, what were you going to tell me? He's like, oh, I'll tell you later. It's like, why is that such a big thing to hide, that you're Force sensitive? That's actually probably going to be very useful right now. Let's use that.
Not only that, but on screen, we never actually got the answer. It was implied through these small little moments that you're just supposed to kind of like, okay, connect the dots, and I just didn't quite understand that.
It felt very out of left field and like that. It's like,
it did.
Really?
It did.
Not that out of left field is, I'm the spy.
Oh my
god.
God. I was like,
General Hux.
Oh god, dude.
General Hux. I thought they were gonna reprise him. I thought they were gonna bring him back.
But
in
dude,
some capacity.
I saw it a mile away. As soon as he's like, "Oh, give me the gun," I'm like, he's gonna help them.
No, as soon as like through most of it, even like seeing him, he's like, oh, they're there.
Because he wasn't a scary character.
No, he wasn't.
They cut that out from underneath him in the very first movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's even more so in The Last Jedi, where he's pretty much getting slapped around by Kylo the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And so we get to Rise of Skywalker, and then he's introduced.
I'm the spy.
And I thought that was a nice plot twist, and I thought, all right, this is a potential moment for them to do something with Hux's character.
Was it really a plot twist though?
I mean,
I
I
just
felt
saw
like
it.
it was out. It was. I wasn't expecting it.
I was.
Maybe.
I laughed when he got off. It was like,
Dude, I was just
I
like,
was just laughing.
they
okay,
killed him.
that was
killed
one
him
of my
like a bitch.
that was one of my moments. I'm just like, I'm done.
I was laughing
The thing
at
is,
that.
like, all these things, I think would have worked if there was just build up to it. The thing is, there wasn't. I mean, like, we can.
Yeah,
argue
they just
this wasn't
ended up
this
being
wasn't
that
the
way.
plan for the end of the movie, and it feels like that. So anytime
Yeah.
they throw a plot twist, it's like, no.
Also,
it's hard
who's
to
this
believe it.
Imperial general guy who's like, I wanted to see more of? Who was
I know, actually, I'm not gonna lie.
who was
watching
working
Where
with
was he
Palpatine the
throughout
whole
this
time?
entire
watching that
time?
this the second time, I'm like, this guy's cool. I want to know more
Yeah.
about this character.
Where was he in the
Excellent
first
villain.
two
Well, like,
movies?
you're not gonna know any more about him. He died.
Yes,
Oh,
I
that's
haven't.
Yeah,
I
and he
haven't-
died a brutal death too.
That was
Oh,
cool.
yeah,
though.
it's a-
Yeah, it was sick. Yeah.
Blown out of the spaceship.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I feel like that's my gripe with this whole movie is that they sort of either tied up all these ends that we never even wanted to unravel from the beginning, or they introduced something new that you're like, well, why didn't you bring this up earlier and things would have
Yeah.
made much more sense as the saga continued. And I just feel that they didn't deliver on that.
One thing I did like about this one, it kind of goes back to like Finn, Rey, and Poe. They're together for once throughout this entire trilogy. I'm like, why wanted more than the first two films? Like build up to the
And it would have
banter
helped. It
relationship.
definitely would have helped. Because I will say that is, I think, what this trilogy was lacking. Even as we can go back and forth on the prequels, I love the prequels for what they are, but I won't argue they're bad. But you at least had, the originals did it well, with, Luke Han and Leia. At least in the prequels, I felt like you felt that brother connection between Obi-Wan and Anakin. For me, it worked. That's why that last fight is one of my favorite fight scenes in all of Star Wars. They're just like, that fight meant so much. These are brothers fighting. And then that monologue he gives at the end of Anakin, I was like, damn, this guy, like, lost his brother. Like, that was cool. And I think that's what this trilogy was lacking. Just that bond between the main
Well,
characters.
and that goes back to, and just like it's displayed in The Rise of Skywalker as a movie, even all by itself, into this last saga that Disney has created, is that there was just no cohesive, overarching storyline
unfortunately.
to refer back to. And that's why what George Lucas crafted was so masterful, and is why we're all such fans of Star Wars, because he had a vision from beginning to end, and he made sure that he saw it out on screen. Look, the prequels may be what the prequels are.
Yeah.
But you can see he had
damned
ideas.
as they may be.
Yes.
But they have consistency.
Yes.
They have consistency with the lore and timeline of the Star Wars saga. And the Skywalker
I
saga.
look at those movies. I'm like, you had great ideas. You just didn't write them well.
Yeah,
but but you know what? Your idea, you have the ideas. Just putting them on paper.
What do you guys think about the horse on the Imperial starship scene?
I mean,
Why?
at that point, it really didn't bother me.
Reminds me of
James
the Canto
Cameron,
Bight
where you
stuff
at?
in The
The
Last
Navi are
Jedi.
attacking again.
Yeah, it brought back memories of Canto Bight. I was like, I don't know what's going on here. Horses on an. Couldn't they have done this from the air? Couldn't you have just?
They honestly they could have, but I mean, at that point, I think there were worse things going on. I was like, I'm okay with this.
It's just little things like that. They kind of just like, okay.
Yeah.
I felt like it was cheap. I don't know. I don't even know what they would
Yeah.
hope to gain by doing those
They
scenes.
could, they,
but,
yeah.
I just didn't feel. It felt a bit contrived. Like, again, kind of cartoonish, maybe a bit over the top. Like, we're in this like super intense action sequence with ships flying everywhere,
And we
and
got
outroll
horses.
the horses on an.
I kind of
Imperial ship.
expected
I was
more
like, I
of a
don't know.
climactic battle at the end too.
With Palpatine.
No, like the capital ship battle. Like,
Yeah,
I
and
was
well,
expecting that.
The
Yeah.
thing I think would hurt it too is the fact that there are like millions of star destroyers. I don't know. I feel like it actually hurt it instead of one big. Not that I wanted that. Just like,
I mean, like, yeah,
we've seen-
not that
we've
you
seen
want a
we've
big
seen
one.
a Death Star like so many times before. It's like we need give something different. You know.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And then and again, it's obviously this is hurt by both directors going different directions. But it's like you go to Last Jedi, and nobody wanted to help the Resistance. They're
Yeah.
on that salt planet, and then here it's like, Palpatine's back. Everyone comes over. It's like I'm like,
we're here.
Yeah.
It goes back to why Bryan probably wanted to walk out in the first hour of the movie.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many things that don't make sense. I will say this. I thought Palpatine the fact that they brought him out right at the start, I thought was a pretty bold move. I thought they would kind of like, we knew about it from the trailers and everything. I thought they might try to like ease into it a little ways. First scene out, there goes Kylo, and Palpatine's looking like this ghoul straight out of
Disfigured,
a horror movie, which I didn't know how I felt about. I thought it was pretty cool. It was a different take on Palpatine. We haven't seen his character in a long time, and I thought they did a good job with it. Ian McDiarmid always is a good actor.
he delivers. He always
Yeah.
delivers.
He always
He was the only highlight of the movie.
But it's just like, but also, yes, I'm fan service. I'm like, oh, cool, Palpatine. But just it immediately, that it just went away from me right when it's like, oh, how are you alive? Like the dark side of the Force as a pathway. Many, seem like what's the line? With abilities, many seem to be unnatural.
I was also laughing at like I was trained, and it's like, you fool! I created Snoke.
Yeah, I thought that was really
like-
out of left field. I was like, so they wasn't there a scene where there's a bunch of Snokes.
Yeah.
There's like
kinda
there's like a
like
little
a
chamber
tank,
full
like,
of like
like a vat.
tubes.
And so, and they never really explored what he meant by that. Does that mean he cloned Snoke, then trained him, and Snoke was always working for Palpatine? I'm gonna go based on that assumption,
Or did
because
he
that's
clone himself
probably
and just made him into Snoke
Yeah,
himself?
well, isn't there lore that Palpatine can like go into other like people's bodies or like manifest? Yeah, because there's I forgot who it was. There's like a story. I forgot what character it is, but I think his spirit is in this. I want to say it's a helmet, I think, and whoever touches it, he consumes them. So I mean, they could have played that he was in Snoke. I think that would have been cool. It's like, oh, he was in Snoke.
the thing is they didn't try to play at anything. They
Yeah.
just said, this is where it is. This is what we're gonna do. Accept it, own it. And then I feel like true Star Wars fans, many of which we are here, just had all these questions.
Like-
How? Why?
yeah.
What's going on?
No,
you know?
the biggest thing that pissed me off is because I remember in the prequel, they're like, oh, Anakin's basically Jesus, born of the Force. I'm like, well, in this movie, fucking Rey's basically Jesus. She can heal people. Where the fuck did she learn that?
Oh.
Yeah. And there's talk of, the whole Rey's character arc, kind of nullifying what Anakin, or I shouldn't say, well, I don't know who to refer to here. Probably Anakin. That Rey essentially nullified what Anakin did in his, story,
entire storyline.
which is kill the Emperor, right? And then, so essentially, that everything he did was in vain. All it did was buy 36 or 37 years of,
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was supposed to bring balance to the Force.
peace, quote unquote.
Which he really, I guess it hurts in that sense too. It's like that was, I mean, you go to the prequels again. It's like, oh, the prophecy is he brings balance to the Force. Like, well, he really didn't. I mean,
Not for a while.
For 30
that
years,
is.
he did.
yeah. Well, I mean, really, how long was Palpatine really dead for? How long was he?
Apparently, he was
healing?
never dead.
So it just kind of hurt that. And even the last fight with Palpatine, it was just a little lackluster for me. I don't know. Compared that to jump to Return of the Jedi, you have Palpatine, killing Luke, and you have Vader. Helmet and all, you can tell this guy's conflicted. He's looking at his son die, looking at the Emperor. It's like he's in this position and he does the right thing. And I'm not gonna lie, Return of the Jedi, I don't think it's a great movie. That last fight scene though, that last scene makes up for it. I'm like, I understand. I was invested. It's like he picks him up. He's being, zagged. You see, like, he's just killing him, throws him off, and then he's like, it was just, it added to the character so much. I was like, man, like that part gets me. I'm like, that was cool. This does not do that. And also, just the way he died was dumb. It's like he zaps Rey and he's like killing himself. It's like, dude, didn't you learn from Mace Windu to like not do that?
Yeah, exactly. And it was cool how they tried to set up, Rey going to the dark side, and she had to smite Palpatine in order to take the throne. And for a second, I thought she might actually do it, just because throughout the movie she was so conflicted herself. She was like running away from her own friends, kind of pursuing Kylo.
I'm gonna go back to where Master Luke was, and now I'm just gonna become a hermit.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
No, but then also
it was just back and forth. It was
Oh
just-
yeah, that too bothered me. I didn't understand her reasoning for wanting to be a hermit.
Well, because she let Kylo live, and so she was
I
conflicted.
don't want to be what I.
I didn't understand
myself.
what the fuck we had to see a Porg.
She left Finn.
I fucking hate the Porgs. And we see two of them like, "Whoa," and they make that stupid.
She
fucking
left Finn
sound.
hanging. She left Finn hanging when he was trying to help her. She killed Kylo. Here
Not
comes
really.
not really. She heals him, which was out of left field, because I was like, whoa, where's this coming from? Takes
gotta
off,
leave.
steals the ship, leaves, goes. Then they do a bit of fan service by reintroducing Luke's Force Ghost. When
Yeah.
she tried to destroy, like Luke did in Episode 8, destroy
secret
Anakin's
text.
lightsaber, and then here comes Luke, and he catches the lightsaber and says, "This is no way to treat a Jedi's weapon." And I was like, okay, golf clap for you, doing some fan service for all the fans who were
see,
mad
and then
about Episode
bullshit
8.
fucking Force Ghost can force lift his own X-wing. No,
Bear in mind, which was
I
like
actually
30
did
years
like
in the
that
water.
moment.
no, okay, no.
Just because of the music, the moment, Luke's smile on his face. It was just so nostalgic about what Yoda did for him in Episode 5. And I thought that was, again, a tasteful moment of fan service. Some people might hate it. I thought it was well executed. What else are you going to do in that moment? I mean,
Yeah.
One thing I will say that I did hate is at the end, it's like, Palpatine's like, I am the Sith, and Rey's like, and I am all the Jedi.
Oh, I did not like that.
No. I didn't care. It's not just that upset me, or it's not really that so much that upset me. It's the fact that somehow having the second lightsaber made her more powerful.
Well, it was Anakin's lightsaber.
I mean, like, it should
What's
make a
that?
difference,
No.
though.
I
No,
get it, but also
I mean, I'm just,
yeah.
It
you know,
should
they
make a
want you to
difference,
get it,
though.
But think
but
about
it doesn't really make sense.
Also,
but
think this is a blast that almost took out the entire fleet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're like high distorted base level of power, like we had never seen Palpatine so
Yes. No,
so
and
OP
then-
ever.
upsets
And then
me 'cause-
Rey's like, huh.
No, it upsets me because you're gonna argue that it was Anakin's lightsaber, but again,
It
now
should
we're-
make a difference
no,
with the lightsaber,
yeah,
though.
exactly.
Well, I'm saying that's what the people at Disney, the good people at
No,
Disney,
the-
might
the-
want
the
you to believe.
the
Well,
shitty
it was
fucking
Anakin's
writers at Disney.
I
lightsaber.
think
No.
I think what they should have done at this point, it's like for me, I'm like, this movie's complete fan service. This would have been so cheap, but I'm like, you know what? I could at least fast forward to this part. If all the Jedi ghosts came out and like somehow helped, it would have probably retconned a lot of like lore what Force Ghosts can do, but they're all like helping her block it. I don't know. And
May
then,
as well retcon
yeah,
a lot
and then
of
I'm
Yeah,
not,
may as
yeah,
well.
and then even though Sith can't have Force Ghosts, just have the Sith Ghosts come out. Have Darth Maul come out while you're at it. Dooku also like maybe trying to help Palpatine. It would have been so cheap, but I've been like, At this point, I can't get mad.
How do we feel? How do we
Motherfucker,
feel?
They it's not that they don't have Sith ghosts. What the hell was that whole audience, Brandon? That's basically
Oh,
the Sith
yeah.
ghosts. They basically already had it ready.
Well, they were actual Sith, weren't they? Which is the
Sort
first
of.
time we've ever seen the Sith in any of the films.
Yeah,
which
but-
I thought was pretty neat. Even though of course,
Yeah,
we didn't explore it very much. We just saw them.
then that retcons Yoda, because Yoda tells in episode 1 there are always 2 Siths, no more, no less.
But we know that the Sith didn't they have their own planet?
Well, okay,
So
well,
they're
but also,
erased.
but also,
Well,
speaking of retconning, so killing Palpatine, apparently brought balance to the Force. How did it bring balance when you have all these other guys just chilling on, whatever that planet was?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Working towards evil,
Yeah.
towards the dark side of the Force. How do we feel about Ben Solo becoming a Force ghost?
Well, he
Okay,
should have been at the
no.
end
No.
along with Luke and Leia,
So
shouldn't he?
I don't
feel
know
like a
because
Force
he
ghost.
killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
He was a bad dude. He was supreme leader for a while, and for
I
him
don't-
just to,
I don't see
I
it
don't know, I mean,
as
yeah,
him being
he
a
brought
Force
her
Well,
back,
I mean,
No,
Vader
my-
killed a lot of people too, and
he redeemed
himself.
himself at the end.
Himself.
Okay,
But no,
fair point.
see, I think I don't really see him as a Force ghost. I just see him as he became one with the Force because he reconciled. The same way that Leia had that guilt weighing her
Yeah.
and keeping her here. So one way I can explain that would be that Leia became a Force ghost after the fact that Ben had done the right thing and had become a Jedi. Qui-Gon had to be burned in episode 1 because he died, but he didn't die at peace. But then again, you can kind of think that, in a sense, he got Obi-Wan to train the boy, so he shouldn't he have died at peace? Shouldn't he have not had a body and become one with the Force?
Interesting.
yeah,
I don't know.
But Qui-Gon then later learned after death to communicate through the
Yeah.
Force.
yeah.
So there's
at the end of episode
there's
3,
some confusion there, maybe. So I guess that leaves room for the argument to be made. And maybe Ben Solo also became a Force ghost because he finally was at peace with his mother.
yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Well, also, and this is probably just me going a little too. I will say it's probably me diving into a little too, much, being nitpicky. But Han Solo returning, I don't think he wasn't a Force ghost because
He was a memory.
he was a memory.
He was a memory.
But by that logic, so did Kylo forgive himself in his own head?
I mean, yeah.
Kind of.
I guess.
You get me. You get me.
It's some of the weird writing that they're guilty of committing in
Weird,
this
no,
movie.
shitty.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, me, I shall hug you, me. Okay, me.
Yeah, good job, me.
And then,
You're a good boy, me. Go, me.
I thought he was about to commit. I thought he was about to kill Han Solo a second time because the dialogue was literally identical
Good
Yeah,
to
it
what
was.
happened in Part 7. And I was like, "What's gonna happen here?"
I
And
feel
then he just
myself.
I think they kinda
throws
heard
the
it.
lightsaber
Yeah.
away. And I was like, "Okay, that's cool. It was nice seeing Harrison Ford make a cameo in the film again."
Yeah.
I could
And-
just imagine. Good job, baby.
Yeah, good job. No, but now I'm thinking, how the fuck did Kylo get off the planet? Did he call the stormtroopers? And if he did, how did they
Yeah,
not?
because he had
kill him?
turned away at that point, right?
Yeah.
I would.
So how the hell did he?
And he
how-
wasn't in cahoots with Poe or Finn or
Yeah.
any of the people
So
they
how
came
did he get
across.
off the
with.
planet?
I think he
Yeah,
somehow
it's just-
found like
It's
a.
just stuff.
I looked at the fire. It's an old TIE fighter. I would assume he found like an old fighter and just probably
Yeah,
repaired
maybe,
it.
yeah. I would say that bothered me.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I think there's
so
worse
Death
things to
Star.
complain
All right,
about.
that
Yeah,
makes sense.
it's just little
Oh no,
moments
I have
like
a lot.
that.
I have a lot more to complain
And
about.
then
but
the
no, I
other
don't wanna
movies
keep
have
this.
their little moments too, but this one it was just so much so fast that you just couldn't help but point out where is half of this stuff coming from.
Yeah.
Dude, if I could have my own podcast myself with all my complaints, I feel like it would be longer than the movie.
And there's a lot of mixed reviews. Some people
loved it.
Some people loved it, and I
some
agree
people
with
hated it.
I agree with Brandon, and I'm of the opinion that if you took this movie by itself,
There's
it
enjoyment.
might be a pretty good movie by itself. But when you plug it in as the last installment of the entire Skywalker saga and the last movie of the last trilogy, it just doesn't jive. It just doesn't jive, and that's how Star Wars fans are looking at this.
Yeah.
They're looking at this.
40
in
what,
a
40
big
41 years?
in a
More or
big
less, yeah.
story, and its place in that story, and it just it's a little contrived, I
Yeah.
have to say. But
And I get to another point I've been seeing is, oh, this is what it could have been. I agree, this is what it could have been. It could have been great, but there was just no build up to it, and that's what hurt it.
yeah, definitely.
And it just it sucks because it's this is where I sound like a neckbeard, but it's like I've pretty much grew up with Star Wars. Maybe I didn't. I was there when the originals came out, but I saw the originals as before I knew Star Wars was a big thing. My dad sat me down, put them on for me, and I watched it. I watched it before knowing Vader was Luke's father. That was something I lived through, and wow, I feel like it's hard this day and age to watch these movies and not know and not know that.
Yeah, it just sort of upends a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that you hold near and dear to your heart as a longtime Star Wars fan, and that's probably why a lot of fans are upset.
And it just didn't close it for me. Like, I didn't like it. And then of course the end. Oh, I guess we can kind of jump to the end. Rey taking the Skywalker name. I didn't
Rey
like
taking
it.
the Skywalker name. Yeah. Well, first of all, let me just say, most awkward kiss in cinema history. I was like, if they're gonna kiss, at least let him live, because then you could carry on the Skywalker blood, and then it sort of makes sense. All right, okay, maybe Kylo, or maybe he'd go by Ben at this point, and Rey get together because he saved her, and they kiss. And said you kill him off.
Yeah, or maybe at the end it's like maybe it's both of them and Tatooine, and then he's like, "Who are you people?" And he's like,
but that would have been a better story than just
it
kiss
would have been
kiss, and now Kylo's dead. And okay, well, this is called the Rise of Skywalker. If he had stayed in the picture and they fell in love or started a family together, okay, this is in fact the Rise of Skywalker. Better.
It's like it
would have made sense.
They're both in Tatooine. They bury the lightsabers. That weird lady comes out of nowhere. It's like, "Oh, who are you?" He's like, Ben. She's like, "I'm Rey." He's like, who? Like Ben? Who? It's like Skywalker.
And they look at each other.
He's like, "Skywalker."
Yeah,
I would have been like,
that would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
But instead,
it would have been cliche as hell, but it's a lot better.
It would have been a lot better than what we got.
It would have been cliche as hell, but it would have been good. And I also wouldn't have complained had Rey sort of actually kept the name Palpatine and sort of
forged it its own name.
Yes,
because that's what Luke did to the name Skywalker.
Yes.
I think the Skywalker name was tarnished as soon as Anakin became Vader.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So the name Palpatine, it could have been redeemed. It could have been like, she could have forced.
And I think that would have been
name.
cool if she would have done. I would have been like, all right, this is cool. I can get on board with that. I can respect that as a conclusion to her character.
I will say, I would have even been okay with. I would have been cheap as hell. But Rey, it coming out that Rey was Luke's daughter, I would not have liked it. But her being like at the end, her being Skywalker, it wouldn't have bothered me as much.
Yeah.
As her, being Palpatine and taking the name Skywalker.
I would have even liked it if it was Kenobi.
There's a lot of speculation.
That she probably would have been Kenobi's granddaughter or something.
Yeah, because that would make sense. Because there's that whole time frame from episode 3 to episode 4 where we don't know. Like, did he live on a hermit and watch over Tatooine or watch over Luke on Tatooine?
Did he meet someone?
Yeah, I would have that would have made a lot more sense than Palpatine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I also just another gripe about this movie, Rise of Skywalker, is that we got introduced to a pretty good myriad of pretty cool characters. People that I wanted to learn a little bit more about during the movie.
I like the little guy.
They shoved it in too late. They crammed it in trying to save face, and then at the end, you're just like, well, that's cool. Like the chick that Poe Dameron comes across.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Zori.
Zori.
Yeah, you kind of want to know more about her.
She was a cool character, and I was like, this is cool. Like they have a history together. Maybe we're gonna get a little bit of Poe's backstory, and we never do. And that's my biggest gripe with this movie is that these seemingly at the outset, to your point, Brandon, in episode 7, we get this array of pretty good characters. We say okay, and then episode 8 happens, and we're kind of it's a bit unsatisfying. And then people were holding out hope for the Rise of Skywalker, and then they sort of doubled down on what they had been doing, and we just did not get a satisfying arc, completion to Poe Dameron's character, Finn's character. I will mention this though, I for some reason I didn't realize until probably 20 minutes after Leia had died in the movie that Chewbacca was the only one left apart from R2 and 3PO from the original movies.
Yeah.
And I was like, I was like, that's pretty cool. I was, it struck me, that helped me emotionally invest in the movie a little bit more. I was like, wow, he really didn't. He got caught and we thought he died. And honestly, the people I saw it with all were totally convinced he died because of the way the movie was already going.
Yeah. Which I was mad. I'm like, dude, this is the way he
I was
dies.
like,
were you convinced he died?
I had a feeling they were gonna pull like a fast one, and I was like, nope, he's alive. Check it out. 5 minutes later, oh wow, we have an important prisoner for you, my lord.
Yeah, I could hear the sigh of relief in the crowd when that happened, but
No, okay.
a cheap gag for sure.
That pissed me off. Okay, when Chewie got caught. Okay, because he walks out to go get Rey, and then the Emperor's forces are there. They see where he's coming from, and they only get Chewbacca.
Yeah.
Like literally, they're like 20, 30 feet
That
to
makes
your left.
Actually,
Which segues
I
us
get
to
it.
the next point because the Knights
the
of Ren
didn't do jack.
didn't do jack
They
shit.
didn't do jack.
They
Everybody-
fucking bullied Kylo at the end. And
Everybody was hyping up Knights of Ren. I was so looking forward. Maybe we're gonna see the Knights of Ren. It was a talking point amongst fans, amongst us. You know what's gonna come of. The
I thought
Knights
they're gonna
of
have
Ren.
sabers themselves because
I'm
like the
telling-
Knights
yeah.
of Ren.
I'm telling you,
where's their sabers?
The only side characters or troops, henchmen if you want to call them, they ever posed a threat, I think, in all of Star Wars are those Crimson Guards in Last Jedi,
Yep.
and the Death Troopers in Rogue One.
yes.
For me,
Yeah.
But Rogue One. Let's not talk about Rogue
Yeah,
One
yeah, yeah.
because that's actually a good film.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we're talking about this.
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
We want to talk about Rise of Skywalker, but yeah, the Knights of Ren were a complete. I don't even know
Waste.
what you would call
I
it.
thought they're gonna be like good like
I think they were a marketing ploy.
Yeah.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
definitely.
And that was all they have ever amounted to be. And they had a few opportunities to do something cool with them. Instead, they just I
they're,
felt
they're
like
just
they
there
needed,
like looking around. That's it.
They needed to give Kylo somebody else to slap around in this movie.
Aha.
Yeah.
Push,
you
push,
know.
push. He's
And,
being pushed
and
around.
you know, and I thought that was pretty neat when Rey, you know, hands him the saber, you know, through the Force, and it's corny, a bit corny.
Yeah,
And,
I will say I did like that part more the second time around than I did my first time around.
really?
Yeah.
I guess I'll have to watch it again.
No, so I
No,
I
please
did
don't.
like it. I said
Yeah.
I did like the handoff more. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, all
I
right.
also like the opening scene of Rise of Skywalker, but then again, the movie continues on the way it does, and
Yeah.
I quickly lose my satisfaction with the openings. I thought it was cool to see Kylo Ren living in his supreme leader, self, living life as supreme leader and running around and sort of fucking shit up and
Yeah.
killing people and going on quests and doing things like that. And he sort of fell off again as the movie progressed. He just seemed to be so focused on Rey, and I was confused about that half the movie because even from The Last Jedi, they were in communication with each other, and I was like, okay, I feel like Ben Solo wants her to become dark, and Rey wants Ben Solo to come to the light side of the Force, and there's just this interplay there. And I thought it was cool, like, the use of props, how he takes the beads
yeah,
and he's able to track her down because stuff like that. I
his
thought,
helmet,
and then, there was just different things we were introduced to, like the life force thing, where Palpatine sucks the life force out of Ben Solo and Rey. Have we ever seen that before?
no, we haven't. It just, I get it. It comes out of nowhere, but I mean, at the same time, you go back to the originals. Well, I mean, lightning came out of nowhere. Palpatine's the only one who had lightning. But then again, also, I guess it kind of makes sense because he was like, well, this is the Emperor. This is like the almighty being.
Yeah, but no, then it's stupid because you can.
But the life force, I mean, it was something. I guess it adds on to the prequels where he talks about creating life and all that. But again, it just there was no. It does come out of nowhere,
It just felt like a way to play a hand in the Emperor's favor and Palpatine's favor, and they had to write it in.
it also played a hand in Racer because you can take the life, but you can give it.
Yeah, and that was another thing. That's another gripe I have. Thank God it was in the last movie of the saga, because if before this people were dying and coming back to life, I don't know that I would have continued to enjoy
No,
Star
I
Wars
wouldn't.
the way that I did.
That's
pissed
this
me
question.
off.
So Palpatine dying again. I mean, could you argue that he's still alive?
I wouldn't doubt if he was still alive. They might. I don't know.
Tune in for
I mean, he got
episode
pretty
10.
vaporized.
Tune in for episode 10
on
in the new
screen.
saga, people.
Whereas in episode 6, we just saw him fall.
Yeah.
And this time we pretty much saw him get vaporized. So there's an on-screen death, not just like, a fall. Sort of like Darth Maul, where everybody assumed he was dead, but because he just fell, you
I
didn't
don't know.
really
I mean,
see him.
No.
you saw him fall. You saw the, and then the Death Star itself exploded. I don't know. I thought he was
Yeah, I
pretty.
guess
Yeah.
I thought he was pretty vaporized.
And, yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, no.
The Death Star itself blew up.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, if you look at this movie as a whole, everyone can die and everyone can easily just as easily come back.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I don't know. I just thought the way Palpatine went out in Return of the Jedi, I think it served not only served a better purpose, but it was more memorable, it was more impactful than seeing him basically vaporize himself.
Yeah. All in all, I think the visuals were good.
Yeah, they were.
The plot was rushed, to say the
so
least.
Oh yeah, so apparently there's more stormtroopers that defected as well. What did you guys think of that?
I mean, at this point,
I don't know because
I don't know either
didn't do
anymore.
anything
They
with
didn't do it.
Finn, so-
I mean,
No,
it-
they
I
brought
was- it didn't
horses
bother
on
me.
the freaking thing.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't bother me. I mean,
I didn't care.
I didn't
My
care about
favorite
them.
part was
I was
honestly a
already
lot
tuned
of
out.
the Millennium Falcon scenes. Just watching that thing fly around and sort of just, the action of it, because I was like, this is true Star Wars action. Like, J.J. Abrams does a pretty good job visually delivering on the Star Wars universe, you know, and that is the biggest highlight for me of the film. The writing itself, the character development, I cannot condone. I will not condone. I'm just gonna, I try to, accept it where I can, but it's a hard.
The flaws are there. It is hard.
Yeah, it's a hard
which
one
I
to
think
swallow.
leads me to the next big question: should they make more Star Wars movies?
No. Not continuing the saga.
No, okay.
It's
not continuing the saga.
No. Well, I mean,
and-
they're not anymore. That's
okay,
a done deal.
Yeah, no. Not continuing the saga, and nothing that they have that's original.
Oh,
Okay?
yes, please.
Just like if you're gonna do it, we have a bunch of books, we have a bunch of lore that you can work with.
I would like to see a spin-off movie for Ahsoka.
Yes.
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan. Who would you want to see?
I've said it before. I would really like them. It needs to be a trilogy, though.
You really still want him to continue on doing trilogies?
Not continuing this story. This ends.
But do you think Star Wars should be delivered in trilogy format?
I would be
That's
okay with
kind
it.
of the way it is. I could get behind that.
I can get behind it, but I've said it before. There is so much good story you can dive into when you go into the Old Republic.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of good story, and the thing is, it's just I don't know if they would do it justice. Just with this movie,
People have been asking for that for a long time.
they have, and the thing is, like, even you watch this movie, it's like, unfortunately the directors, they don't know the lore, so I don't know if they would do justice to the lore in that regard. As of right now, I will say I need some time to think. I need about 5-6 years time to think. I'm okay with them making more games. I think
As long as it's not EA.
yeah, I think
doubt
we've
EA
seen
is
some
gonna
we've
go
seen
with
some
it.
really good games. I can get behind The Force Unleashed. It's one of my favorite Star Wars game. I heard Fallen Order is really good. And that's actually a storyline I've been wanting to see them make a movie of. What? Because from what I've seen, it takes place
After the Purge.
after or what's going on between Order 66.
After Order
I
66.
love Order. I think that's such an awesome.
That whole transitionary period of where the Jedi are across
now
the galaxy
and now in
hunted and
hiding.
stuff.
Yes, that is such a cool story arc to go dive into. I'd love to see that.
Plays
a
into
movie out of
Ahsoka's
it.
arc also, which is why I would like to get more on her story
Yeah,
too.
so that I'm fine with that. I'm fine with books, but as far as movies, I think I need some time to really, ingest what happened, and there to make my decision. Because I who knows? I mean, like they say, time heals. I think.
Well, we
I
are
think
getting
5
Clone
years.
Wars season 6 next year already, so we're gonna see what
Seven.
happens with
7.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
In February 2020, make
We
sure
get
you
to
guys
see-
tune in and
we are not trying to promote.
We're not being paid.
We're not being paid.
We're not
to
being
promote,
paid,
but
but-
We're being paid. Yeah, we're being paid to shit on this movie.
yeah. I think Rise of Skywalker in a vacuum was an experiment in fan service and sort of a poster child for Too Little Too Late. That is my honest opinion of it. And while it had great potential, and once you realize where they took Rey's story at the end, I realized in that moment, I was like, man, this movie could have been so good. But they had just bombarded me with so much other crap leading up to that moment that I was just disinvested in the movie at that point. And I was like, all right, yeah, let's see what they're going to do here. And then I walked out of the theater just with this sense of hollowness. But overall, I'd like to see more movies like Rogue One, play out with excellent directing. I think somebody needs to get a hold of Gareth Edwards and bring him back because he's an amazing director who, like Dave Filoni and like Jon Favreau, care very much about the content of the lore and the storytelling aspects.
That's what we need. We need like
True fans.
True fans, like a Kevin Feige,
Kevin
who
Feige.
knows the lore and what these characters, bring justice to the characters.
I think that's also why The Mandalorian is doing so well, is because it's being delivered by people who have an investment in the storytelling of Star Wars and who treat it with care. And I just think that that's not what Rise of Skywalker did. So overall, I give the Rise of Skywalker itself, I give it a C. That's my rating. The actual trilogy itself, I probably got to give it a solid D-. Probably. I won't give it a full-on F because I'm still slightly a fan. There's moments that I do like,
there's some
but
fan service.
wrapping it all up, it's too much to try to reconcile.
And it's unfortunate because I will say personally, I do think Force Awakens, and I would even say I think Last Jedi, as far as cinematography, storytelling, I would argue that I would think they're technically better movies than the prequels. But I think this last movie hurts it so much that it just I can't get invested in this sequel trilogy. So for me, and again, I sound real neckbeard at this point, but for me, the saga ends with Return of the Jedi. For me,
What's your grade?
My grade,
What do you grade the Rise of Skywalker?
Rise of Skywalker, I'd give it a 2.5. Trilogy as a whole, I'd give it like a 4 or 5 because at least Force Awakens was still enjoyable to watch, but this Rise of Skywalker brought it down too much.
Yeah. As giving it a rating as a movie itself, just again, if I was going back to just watching it as a movie and not comparing it to any it's its own thing, I would still give it about a 5. Just the storytelling just kind of hurts it. But when you put it as part of the conclusion of this, almost 40-year
all 9 movies,
it starts losing points for me, and I give it like a 1. It's my least favorite it's my least favorite Star Wars movie. I can at least, and the other bad ones, like even Phantom Menace is I think my least, the worst one. There is at least redeeming moments. We got a cool villain. We got one of the best songs, Duel of Fates. I can listen. I run to that sometimes. So
Nice.
There's at least parts I can go back and just what, I like this part. I can go fast forward to this part. I cannot find a part I would fast forward to in this movie.
What about you,
Bryan?
Bryan? What's your rating?
Oh God. Okay, so since Kyle
Trilogy and standalone Rise of Skywalker.
standalone, I will give it a D because Kyle said C, and C's in college get degrees. So no, this doesn't pass on any of my meter. As a trilogy, an F for fuck off. I'm not watching this. I wanted to walk out of this movie an hour in. I was done. My dad's like, calm down. I'm like, no, this is bullshit. Like, no, I hated everything. I was rolling my eyes so much throughout this movie.
Clearly, we're a mixed bag of
we
emotions
are.
here.
Yeah.
And I think that's safe to be said about all of the fandom right now.
Oh yeah,
definitely.
No.
You have those who hate it and those who say, yeah, there's good moments in there.
No, the whole time they're on that fucking desert planet pissed me off. Oh, we have someone to help us. Oh, it's Lando. Oh, they found us. Oh, we found the ship. Oh, we're in quicksand. Oh, it took us to the tunnel where this dude died. Oh, there's this big monster. Yeah. Oh no, it's not scared. It's not hurting. It's scared of us. Oh, I have this bullshit power where I can heal. No, I have this bullshit power that can heal. Okay, it's our friend. It leaves. That big thing was somehow blocking the only entrance or exit. No, fuck this movie. It's bullshit.
It's like a video game. It's like
No.
Each little event happens to move to the next, and it's like okay, checkpoint. Okay, checkpoint. Okay, checkpoint.
No. This was a bad D&D campaign. It was like a very bad D&D campaign with a bad
like the
DM.
lines were just like cheap handoffs. Like, what's gonna happen next? Line. And then like they hand it off, and then like, all right, next thing.
I'm gonna try this.
To Brian's point, it feels like a video game. And not the end of a.
No, that's not my point. That's your point.
That's not my point.
No, my point is I hated this. I hated this so much.
Well, that's fair. That's why we review this movie.
Yeah, as it is.
And I'm sure there's a lot that we still haven't talked about or left out, but I feel like
I feel we've already gone far enough.
I feel like we did get the gist of it.
I've always wanted to be a Jedi. I feel like this movie it's made me a
probably
Sith.
gonna have to edit out some of the stuff where we're going back to the other movies, because we did do that quite often. We talked specifically about other films as opposed to Rise of Skywalker. But the thing is, when you do a movie review like this, part of you wants to look at it in a vacuum, but it's part of a saga.
Yeah.
And you've got to look at it as it fits in the puzzle and the timeline of everything else that we know. So that's why we're probably jumping around back and forth on the timeline. But it's for a purpose, and it's
I'm trying to get too convoluted.
Yeah.
But I guess next should be, has this ruined Star Wars for you? And I think for me it hasn't. I'm always gonna love Star Wars. It does suck though. Just again, this is like a 40-year story almost, and it ends like this. It was just unsatisfying.
I will say it has ruined it for me, just because I used to get excited.
I will say that too. I used to get excited. I'm still a fan of Star Wars. I love Star Wars. Star Wars is a big part of why I love cinema. It inspired me to want to pursue this. Get into I want to make movies one day. So I hold it to that, but I agree with you. I don't get excited for it anymore. This movie was the first one. I'm like, I'm not excited.
I think
for
they
it.
I think they did good job at first, and I'll give them credit. When what came out
Force
first?
Awakens?
Force Awakens.
I was excited. I was so
Because
hyped.
it was so new.
Yeah.
It was so new, and everybody's excited. Well, what are we gonna get?
We saw the Millennium Falcon at the end of the trailer. I was like,
yeah, they're gonna do amazing service. They're gonna do amazing fan service. It's gonna be sick. You know, we're gonna revisit nostalgia with modern tech and awesome graphics and badass visuals.
And I saw Finn. I saw
Yeah.
them like showing emotion. I'm like
this looks
is
cool.
Good acting.
This
like,
looks cool. And then Rogue One came out, and that was another good Star Wars movie.
Yes.
So I
Yes,
think
I
it
really
just
liked Rogue
hyped
One.
the Star Wars fandom up, and
Yeah.
then we got episodes 8 and 9, and they just fell so flat,
Okay.
and that's where majority of this disappointment comes from. Because to get Rogue One, which is my probably second most favorite Star Wars movie of all time, it is so good because it's a new fresh take on a pivotal part of
Yeah.
all of the history of the saga. And the sacrifice that a small group of people made to lend themselves to the bigger story that we've known.
No,
and
but
loved.
they made you care about these characters.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a great looking movie, excellent directing, awesome writing. Gareth Edwards did a great job. So we got those two excellent movies back to
And
back.
the right amount of fan service.
The right amount of
Yes.
fan
That
service.
again, I love Vader.
right kind of
I
humor.
love Vader, and I will say it. That scene didn't even need to be in that movie,
Nope.
and I would have still loved it.
Yeah.
That was just the cherry on top.
It was the sickest we've ever seen Vader.
Yes.
In a movie ever.
Yes, I'm like, I want a whole movie of that.
And so we got those two films, and then we got episodes 8, which totally divided the fandom.
yeah, it really did.
And then, and then episode 9, which
And I will say this: look, even though I did like I liked Last Jedi, I would have been, if it meant going just JJ's route. Even though I didn't like this last movie, I would have been like, okay, we can take Last Jedi out. Like for the sake of just consistency, I would have been okay with it.
Rise of Skywalker felt like a sequel to The Force Awakens.
Yeah, just
I'll put it
Rushed,
that way.
yeah.
I'll
No,
put it
okay,
that way.
see, here's my thing with that. As everyone knows, I didn't like Last Jedi, but I appreciated what it did.
and that's why I liked it.
I didn't like this one. I
Yeah.
will not rewatch this one. I will not buy this one, and I will not condone this one.
Mhm.
Like everyone was petitioning to Redcon Last Jedi.
No one's
I-
doing that for this one yet. I
Yeah.
haven't seen yet.
I don't know why. I fucking hate it.
Because it's not
Yeah.
as bad. It
It's
has
not
if
worse.
you-
It's
In my
worse
opinion,
than
it's
Last
worse.
Jedi.
I hate it.
I think
Yeah.
as far as a movie, I think it's worse. As potential, I get it. I do get it why people liked it more. But I just think as a movie, I think it is worse.
I think the only reason people would like Rise of Skywalker a little bit more than The Last Jedi is because The Last Jedi was sort of this myriad of cliffhangers.
Mm.
What happens next? Rise of Skywalker, they try to satiate your concerns and questions with all of these resolves or outcomes at the end of the movie. So I guess emotionally, even though it kind of wrecks you emotionally because you're back and forth the whole movie, it's a little bit more satisfying because you're like, okay, at least we have something that we know is
Yeah.
concrete and this is what actually took place now. So
I didn't ask. I think I got to you guys. Has this movie ruined Star Wars for you as a whole?
Not as a whole. Again, you can still find me excited if the story's good. Like Mandalorian. I have yet to see Mandalorian, Kyle.
What do you mean? Well, I've been waiting for you to so that way we could both watch it.
Yeah, so we've made this pact that we would watch it together, and neither one of us has hit the other.
I'm
up.
liking it. I'm on
So-
episode 3, but I'm liking it.
Okay, so
So you
Mandalorian,
hold
I hear
out
it's
hope.
good. I hold on to hope, but
It's
again,
a big theme in Star Wars.
yes.
Rebellions are built
In
on
fact,
hope.
you could even say that there's a new hope. Anyway, gosh, we can cut that out. Anyway,
Probably won't.
anyway, no, I still do have hope for the future. Maybe they'll produce something good. It's just that this movie was not my cup of tea.
It's gonna take you a while to deal with the burn.
Oh no, it's not taking me a while to deal with it at all. Like I already don't like it. There's no getting over it for me with this. But
Gosh.
if they were to make a new one, if it looks good, if it entices me, then that's all they can do. Look, Last of Us, the video game, had me feeling for this character in 15 minutes. Rey's death in this movie, over three movies, I didn't care.
Were you almost happy?
I was like,
I was
no.
like, finally something.
Yeah, I was
happened.
like, finally something. No, see,
Part
yeah,
of me was
finally.
almost happy. I was like, okay.
Dude, oh no, I was like,
yes.
No, I was like,
okay.
No, I was like,
She did
okay.
something.
No, I was like, yes, stakes were high. Finally, something that matters. And then no, she's brought back to life, and then Ben dies. I'm like, okay, why? Oh,
Yeah.
You know what? Fuck it, I don't care.
Yeah.
I was done with this movie 2 hours ago.
What about you, Kyle? What
Child.
do you think?
I mean, has it hurt Star Wars for you as a whole?
Just give me at least 5 or 6 years before another film comes out. Unless if it's directed by Gareth Edwards, then yes, I would go wholeheartedly watch it.
Yeah.
But at least we got the Mandalorian and Clone Wars season 7 coming out next year, so I'm
And
looking forward to that.
those are I feel are going to be pretty solid. The Mandalorian's been good so far, and Clone Wars is legendary for its for its storyline and arcs and stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm sure we're going to be happy with that, especially because Dave Filoni's running that operation.
Dave Filoni.
So all in all, I think we all hold out. We're all still true fans at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We may be critical of what happened in the.
But
Rise
because
of
we're fans,
Skywalker.
we're critical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and
even as much trash we
yeah.
talk, but
And even Bryan can concede that there are some good moments in the Rise of Skywalker.
True, but not
You
enough
have
for
to
me
watch
to
it
fully
again,
hate it.
and then
I
you'll
think
see what
so,
I'm talking
yeah.
about.
I think. See, the funny thing is, you say I have to watch it again. I don't plan on watching it again. Though it was a one-time watch. I've passed. It's like my shitty like phase years, like my MySpace.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna like. I live with that guilt that I had
you're
that
gonna go
phase.
back there and look at your.
But I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to go back and look at
Yeah.
this movie.
It's almost one of those movies you had to watch twice because there was so much. It was just
There
so
is,
fast.
yeah. In every Star Wars movie, I've had to give a second watch to give a
I
final.
watched Rogue One 3 times, but that's just
Yeah.
because I enjoyed it so much.
I saw it.
Yeah.
I think I saw it. I think 3 times. I saw it twice the same day.
Yeah,
I
did.
went in the morning.
did
I went
too.
in the afternoon. I liked it. I really liked it.
So
So, but I think we'll wrap it up with that, guys. I guess you guys leave your comments. Did you like Rise of Skywalker? Did you not like it? What are your thoughts on the whole saga as a whole? Leave the comments. Let us know. And till next time, guys. I think we're doing pretty good about making videos. Hopefully, we continue it. Kind of,
Yeah.
sort of, not really.
Yeah,
I like
sure.
it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like this sort of free for all format, just honest
Yeah.
opinions.
So
Yeah.
we'll try to
Pretty
keep it updated. But until next time, guys. We'll see you later.